Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Vinyl Den, your channel for record collecting by record collectors. I'm Nick. It's Tuesday, time to talk about some new releases coming out this Friday, May 17th. There's a little over 400 albums coming out this week. I got 14 on my list for today. There's a bunch of links down below. You got links for the Vinyl Den Facebook group, for the merch page, for the Spotify and Apple Music playlists I put together every week, and the Patreon page. So make sure you check all that out. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I release new episodes. Like I said in the intro, there's a little over 400 albums coming out this week. I'm only going to talk about 14 on the show today, so if there's something I don't talk about, make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to picking up. And like always, if you're unable to find these in your local brick and mortar stores, they should be all available online. I'll put links down below for them. There's a bunch of new albums coming out this week, but I think the biggest one is going to be this new one from Billie Eilish. This is Hit Me Hard and Soft. It's her third studio album. It's going to run you around $33 online. A bunch of different variants of this are going to be available. I know there's a Walmart exclusive. There's also an indie exclusive. It's going to be on Sea Blue vinyl. So, to be completely honest, I wasn't a big fan of her first album. And then when she released Happier Than Ever, which is her second album, it still took me a while to come around to it and check it out. But once I finally did, I was really impressed with it. This album, just like her first two, they're all, co-written, they're co-produced, they're recorded with her brother Phineas. It's an album I'm definitely interested in checking out this week. I've not pre-ordered it. I'm going to kind of hold off and wait till I listen to the full album, but it's definitely one I got high hopes on. I think it's going to be a big seller this week. Then you've also got the new album from Slash, Orgy of the Damned, coming out. This is his sixth studio album. So it's a sixth solo studio album, but it's only his second solo studio album without Miles Kennedy. It's going to run you around $24 online. It's a 2 LP release. This is an album, it's all just it's blues covers. So you got tracks on here by Muddy Waters. He's got tracks on here by Stevie Wonder. Howlin' Wolf tracks are on here too. He's doing things a little bit differently than he's done earlier in his career. He's brought in a bunch of different musicians. He's got different singers in here. So he's got Gary Clark Jr. on this album. You got Chris Stapleton on here, Iggy Pop, Chris Robinson, among others. Big long list of people that are going to appear on this album. It's another one that I'm not going to pre-order. I'll definitely wait and check it out this week, and I'll stream it this weekend. I'll put it on my list. How about that? And I'll decide after that whether I want to grab a copy of it. There's a couple really great mid-90s rock albums getting reissued this week. The first one is Ben Folds 5, Whatever and Ever, Amen. This was released back in 1997. It was their second studio album. It's going to run you about $24 online. This is the album that made or kind of broke Ben Folds 5 into the mainstream. I think there's 3 or 4 of the 5 singles on this album all got significant airplay. I think Brick was the big track that it was like all over MTV. So every time I turned on the radio, it was on the radio. It would peak at number 42 on the Billboard 200 to sell over 1 million copies here in the US. And to be honest, it's probably my favorite Ben Folds 5 album, but it's also probably the only one I've listened to a bunch of times. He's one of those artists I need to go back through and not only check out his solo stuff, I need to check out more of the Ben Folds 5 stuff. So you got that getting reissued this week. And then you got Frogstomp by Silverchair coming out. This was released back in 1995. It was their debut studio album. It's 2 LP release. It's going to run you $45 online, which is a lot. It's an MOV release. It does come with a D-side etching. So music on vinyl, their releases tend to be kind of pricier. But this was released on colored vinyl back in 2022. So they do like the limited color run, and then they do like a standard black wider release. It's an incredible album, I should say that, especially considering these guys were like 15 and 16 years old when they recorded this album. It's an album I've loved since it was first released, but $45 is a lot for this album, especially if you go on eBay, if you go on Discogs, that limited colored version from 2022, I last time I looked on there was probably around the same price that they're charging for this black release. You got 2 releases coming out this week, both part of the Blue Note Classic series, which I love the Classic series. I mean, I love the Tone Poet series also, but Tone Poet releases tend to be around, $38 to $40. Both of these Classic series releases you can grab for $28 this week, and they're both absolutely unbelievable albums. I love both these. One I've kind of discovered more recently, just over the last couple of months, but the first one is one of my favorite albums of the last couple of years. The first one's Hank Mobley, Workout. This was released back in 1962. Like I said, Blue Note Classic series releases. They're pressed to optimal. They're all mastered by Kevin Gray from the original analog tapes. These things always sound fantastic, especially for $28. Can't beat the price of it. This is an absolute masterpiece of an album. Hank has been one of my favorite jazz musicians probably over the last 4 or 5 years, I'd say. And this is one I've streamed a bunch of times. I've never picked up a copy of it on vinyl, so I'm definitely glad to grab one this week. He's got Wynton Kelly on here, Paul Chambers, Grant Green, which Grant Green is another one of those great jazz musicians I've gotten more into over the last couple of years. He's also got Philly Joe Jones on here. So the big thing is about this release. So when this was released on CD back in 2014, it came with 2 additional tracks, which are not part of this release. And I don't even think those 2 tracks are on, if I think off the top of my head, I don't even think they're on Apple Music. So I might have to go out there and try to track down a copy of it on CD. I'd love to see them do a vinyl release of it with those 2 extra tracks. It just kind of adds to the overall, fullness of the album. So you got that coming out. And then you got Stanley Turrentine with the 3 Sounds, Blue Hour. This came out back in 1961. Same thing. Mastered by Kevin Gray, pressed to optimal. It's going to run you about $28 online. This is the album that I just recently discovered. It was probably about a month or 2. I was on Blue Note's website looking at the release schedule for this year. Saw this album, and I'm familiar with Stanley's work, but I've never listened to a lot of his music. I streamed this one a couple of times. This is an instant buy for me. I absolutely love this one. This is another one of those albums that has a lot more content available. I don't remember what year it was released. I don't know if I've got it on my list here or not. So it looks like it was back in 2000, but they released the full expanded edition of this album. It has, in 2000 when they released it, it came with almost a full extra hour of unreleased material. So Blue Note did this, I think it was last year with Blue Note. They did, not Blue Note, but with Blue Train by John Coltrane. They released the complete sessions. I'd love to see them do the same thing with this album. Give it the full treatment, give us that full, album plus an extra, I think it was like 45 or 50 extra minutes on that album. You also got the new album from New Kids on the Block coming out this week. This is Still Kids. It's their 8th studio album. It's going to run you around $24 online. There's a standard black version of this. There's also a clear version. The clear version is going to be Amazon exclusive release. This is the band's the group's follow-up release to 2013's 10. It's funny, I just saw them on an interview just within the last couple of days, I think it was. They were talking about how this was the most mature album that the band has ever put together. I would hope so. You guys are in your mid-50s now, so I don't really think you could be New Kids on the Block. It should be like the new middle-aged guys on the block. But anyway, I'll stream it and check out this week, even though I've never been a fan of their music. But I'm always interested in checking out new stuff. So you got that coming out this week. Then you got the debut studio album from Kate Hudson coming out, Glorious. This is going to run you around $26 online. I'm really surprised that it's taken her this long to release music, release an album. I know she's been writing music for years. I mean, she was married to Chris Robinson for 6 or 7 years also. So like I said, I'm really surprised she's never put anything together before now. I've got no idea what genre this is or what to even expect. I'm just going to go into it with an open mind and check it out and stream it this week. You got the latest album from Navarro and the Traitors getting reissued this week. This is All of Us or None. This came out back in November or December of last year. It's their 2nd studio album. It's going to run you around $23 online. When this album came out last year, I think there was like 4 or 5 different color variants. This is just a standard black version of this album that's coming out this week. It's if you're unfamiliar with who Jay Navarro is the frontman for the punk band Suicide Machines. One of my favorite punk bands of the 90s and early 2000s. So many great albums, so much great music that he did with that band. But what he does with the Traitors, it's still punk based, but he's pulling in a lot of other different influences in the music. So it's a very different style than what he did with Suicide Machines. It's one that I've streamed a bunch of times since it came out. I'll probably grab a copy of that this week. And then you've also got the new album from Caged Elephant, Neon Pill, coming out. It's their 6th studio album. It's going to run you around $24 online. There's a black version of it. There's also a Milky Clear version. The Milky Clear version is going to be the indie exclusive. So this is a follow-up to their 2019 album, Social Cues, which got a bunch of praise. It won a Grammy, I think, for like best rock performance. But it was probably within the last year that I started digging back through their music. They've got 5 other studio albums. They've been around since, I think they formed in 2006. They've released, this is their 6th album since 2008. But it was probably, like I said, it's within the last year that I started going back through their music. And, there's definitely one on stream and check out this week. There's also a reissue of Don't Forget by Demi Lovato coming out this week. This was released back in 2008. It was her debut studio album. It's going to run around $26 online. It's going to be on clear, red, and black splatter vinyl. This is an album that it was big when it first released. It was number 2 on the Billboard 200. This is an album where if all you know is just like the big pop albums from Demi Lovato, you might be kind of surprised by her first two albums. Her first two albums still had a lot of pop to it, but it definitely had a really strong rock influence also. It's an album that, before she released Holy Fuck, and I think it was at 2023 or 2022 when that album came out, I had never gone through a whole lot of her music. I'd only known like the couple of hits that she had. And then when I sat down and listened to the first album, I was really impressed with it. It's probably not something I'll grab. It's only $26. We'll see how I feel once I get to the record store. But it's an album I was surprised by. I think a lot of people out there will probably be surprised by it also, if all you know is just her big pop stuff. So you got that coming out this week. And then you got the new album from Collective Soul, Here to Eternity. This is their 12th studio album. It's going to run you around $33 online. It's going to be on gold vinyl. It's going to be a 2 LP release. So this comes 30 years after their debut album. And to be honest, Collective Soul is another one of those bands I think I've said this a lot over the last few weeks, where, you're getting a lot of music coming out and getting reissues, stuff that I haven't really dug into a lot over the years. Collective Soul is another one of those bands where I knew the first couple of albums, and then when Vibrating came out in 2022, that's when when I sat down and listened to that album. It was really what really kind of drew me into the rest of their career. I started digging through some of their other stuff. I haven't gone, I think I've listened to Vibrating. I've listened to maybe their first 3 albums. I think Blood, which came out in 2019. I listened to that. I kind of like the trajectory their career has taken. So I'll definitely stream this one and check it out this week. So the next album is kind of an interesting release. So this is the Rolling Stones Got Live If You Want It. This was released back in 1966. It's going to run you around $26 online. So this is a compilation of live tracks. What the original plan was for this album was the band was going to go to the Royal Albert Hall in London. They were going to record a concert and release it as a live album. But their manager had different ideas. So what he ended up doing was he took 10 live tracks, and I think it was across 3 or 4 different performances, took those 10 tracks with 2 studio tracks, overdubbed the studio tracks with some crowd noise to make it sound live like the rest of the tracks, put that together and released it as the live album, because they wanted to capitalize on this newfound fame that the band had after the release of Aftermath. And I mean, it worked. This thing hit number 6 on the Billboard 200 here in the U.S. It sold a bunch of copies, but it's not a great sounding live album. I'm a huge Rolling Stones fan. I don't have a copy of this on vinyl, so I probably will grab a copy of it this week. But, like I said, it's an interesting one to kind of go back through and listen, because it's not it's not the best sounding live album, because it sounds kind of disjointed. The crowd noise kind of is the music kind of buried a little bit in the crowd noise at times, and it's just one of those albums that, if you are a Rolling Stones fan, it's a good one to grab. Then the last one I got on my list is Porcupine Tree Closer Continuation, live Amsterdam, July 11th, 2022. So this was released last year. It's a live album. It's a 3 LP release. It's going to be on clear vinyl. It's going to run you a lot, though. This thing's going to run you around $90. This was a reissue from last year that came out, and hopefully the sound quality is better than that reissue. I saw a lot of people leaving reviews on Discogs and people complaining online how bad the sound quality was. There was a lot of pops and clicks. So hopefully this thing sounds better than the one that they released last year. But I'm familiar with Porcupine Tree. Over the last 20 years, they've been one of the biggest, probably the best, progressive rock bands out there. I've slowly started getting more into their stuff over probably the last maybe 2 years or so. This album's a pretty good one, though. This is a great mixture of new stuff and old stuff from the band. It's definitely one to check out if you're unfamiliar with it. Well, that's all I got for today, guys. Thanks for checking the show out. Make sure you drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to grabbing this week. It's some really good stuff. There's a lot of new releases coming out this week, so I got a lot of stuff I got to stream and check out. There's nothing that I see on the list that's coming out this week that I have pre-ordered. So I'm probably going to grab both of those jazz albums. I'll probably grab that J. Navarro album. Maybe that Ben Folds 5, maybe that Rolling Stones. A lot of really good stuff, though. But let me know what you guys are looking forward to grabbing this week. Like always, if you enjoyed the episode, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. That's all I got. Until next time, keep on spinning. Peace.